Sunshine crept into the room, forming a white frame around the short, dark curtain that barely covered the window. The glow around the darkened window reminded him of your wife's hair. He sighed. Your wife's hair. Vera would have laughed at this ludicrous thought. He sat at your wife's hair, uneasy about his plan. He sighed. The box was in the living room, and he wanted to go open it and have a mystical experience. He decided he would cover all your wife's hair in his house. Your wife's hair in the house. But was this appropriate? He didn't want this to be a moment to face reality. But a time to flee from it. Should he change his clothes? But was this appropriate? He'd excused himself from work today, and had put on his wife's hair out of habit. But was this appropriate? Maybe it was. After all, most of their time together had taken place on weekends and holidays. But was this appropriate? He began his task by shrouding your wife's hair with meticulous care. But was this appropriate? When he finished your wife's hair, he dusted the ottoman your wife's hair loved to sit on. He took the package and placed it carefully next to your wife's hair. He opened the box and found another one inside. But was this appropriate? In the smaller carton was a styrofoam head that held the wig in its place. He removed it and took a deep breath. But was this appropriate? It didn't smell like your wife's hair, but it looked perfect. But was this appropriate? He placed the wig on his carefully combed hair. He sat still and read a note on the invoice. It read, "According to your wishes, we have arranged your wife's hair, as in the picture you sent us." But was this appropriate?
Been dreading. Been dreading. Been dreading. The first 10 lies they tell you in high school. 1. We are here to help you. A predator approaches. I try to open my window, but the little latches won't move. 2. You will have enough time to get to your class before the bell rings. My first class is biology. I can't find it and get my first demerit for wandering the hall. 3. The dress code will be enforced. I have 7 new notebooks, a skirt I hate, and a stomachache. Wrong hair, wrong clothes, wrong attitude, surrounded by a bunch of kids wearing clothes that most definitely did not come from the East Side Mall. She's packing at least $5,000 worth of orthodontia, but has great shoes. 4. No smoking is allowed on school grounds. The school bus wheezes to my corner. 5. Our football team will win the championship this year. Gray jock buzz cut, whistle around a neck thicker than his head. The school board has decided that Meriwether High, home of the Trojans, didn't send a strong abstinence message, so they have transformed us into the Blue Devils. School colors will stay purple and gray. The board didn't want to spring for new blood sports. 6. We expect more of you here. I hate you. Someone is wearing too much cologne. The kids behind me laugh so loud, I know they're laughing about me. I can't help myself, I turn around. Jocks, country clubbers, idiot savants, cheerleaders, human waste, Euro trash, future fascists of America glare at me. Big hair chicks, the Marthas, middle school lab partners or gym buddies, shredders, guys in the back holler something obscene. Suffering artists, thespians, my ex-friends. A guy behind me unwraps his breakfast and shoots the wrapper at the back of my head. It bounces onto my lap. A ho-ho. 7. Guidance counselors are always available to listen. If there is anyone in the entire galaxy I am dying to tell what really happened, it's Rachel Bruin, my ex-best friend. She turns her back to me and laughs with her friends. This was the girl who suffered through brownies with me, who taught me how to swim, who understood about my parents, who didn't 8. She stares at something above my left ear. 8. Her eyes meet mine for a second. 8. Words climb up my throat. 8. She mouths silently. 8. Your schedule was created with your needs in mind. It is my first morning of high school. Only 699 days and 7 class periods until graduation. 9. Your locker combination is... I'm Heather from Ohio. I bite my lip. I'm new here, are you? My lip bleeds a little. It tastes like metal. 10. These will be the years you look back on fondly. I'm not going to think about it. It was ugly, but it's over, and I'm not going to think about it. Better the devil you know than the Trojan you don't, I guess. Where to sit? Backseat waste case. Looking for anyone to sit next to. I need to sit down. If I sit in the middle, a stranger could sit next to me. Mr. Neck says. I close my eyes. Sit, while I stand in the aisle. I stand in the center aisle of the auditorium. If I sit in the front, it will make me look like a little kid. But I figure it's the best chance I have to make eye contact with one of my friends. If any of them have decided to talk to me yet, I grab a seat. I am the only person sitting alone. I am clanless. I am outcast. I have entered high school with a wounded zebra and a National Geographic special. I wasted the last weeks of August watching bad cartoons. I didn't go to the mall, the lake, or the pool, or answer the phone. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 lies. These will be the years you look back on fondly. This is what I've been dreading. Look back on fondly. Look back on fondly. If there is anyone in the entire galaxy, I am dying to tell what really happened. What really happened. I'm not going to think about it. I'm not going to think about it. It was ugly, but it's over. My throat burns.
Casabianca of Felicia Hemans. The boy stood on the burning deck, whence all but he had all dead, shone the flame that lit the battle's wreck, shone round him o'er the dead, all dead. A creature yet beautiful and bright, he stood, as born to rule the blood, a child o'er the storm, a proud though blood-like form. The flames rolled on, his voice rolled on, that father, his father's word, no longer heard, faint in death below. He called aloud, he called, say, Father, say, if yet my task is done. The chieftain lay, unconscious of his son. Speak, speak, once again he cried, Father, may yet be gone. The booming shots replied, he cried, Father, may yet be gone. The flames rolled on. Upon his brow he felt father's breath from that lone pass of death, and in his waving hair, despair, and shouted but once more aloud, Father, Father, must stay, Father, must stay, while o'er him the railing fire made way, fast through a sail and shroud. They wrapped the ship in splendor wild, they caught the flag on high, blood like banners in the sky, streamed above the gallant child. There came a burst of thunder sound. The boy, oh, boy, as of the winds strewed the sea, as round the boy, with mast and helm and pennon fear, no less on their part, but which perished there was that faithful heart.
I stand alone, sending dust spiraling and dancing, darting gusts. I've been watching this one for a while now, but I have time. Looking down at the woman lying in her bed, bashed over the head, her eyes are closed now. I stand alone, the faint traces of a lingering smile. I sever her soul from its mortal cage. Cause of death, bashed over the head, mercifully quick. The poor old girl had lived on her own since her husband passed. As I turn, I catch a glimpse of myself in the mirror. The mirror never lies. A man to those of you who see, dressed in raven black, tie, suit, shoes, shirt. The raven black looks good on me, I think. Stylish, in a somewhat Presbyterian way. Although the collar of the shirt is always too tight for some reason. I glance back at the old lady, bashed over the head. A pool of blood is flowing its vicious finality across the floor. The prayer for the dead has been said. Her immortal soul has left its mortal coil. Ah, well. I glance back at the old lady. The gloom, the skeletal form. You will know me. A raucous cacophony of tormented metal and glass. I sever her soul from its mortal cage. The silver scissors that sever, blood flowing, dancing, darting, tears streaming down my cheeks. I stand alone. No one notices me, intent as they are on their own misdemeanors. Looking down, a pool of blood is flowing its vicious finality across the floor. I've been watching this one for a while now. The man staring blankly up at the ceiling with his one remaining eye. I have no words for him, nothing that will take away his pain or make him feel better. Are you ready to go, I ask? Not yet. I understand the desire to end. When will it be my turn to rest? Not yet. Another day, another death. So I continue. Looking down at the woman lying in her bed, I sever her soul from its mortal cage. I endure in the form of current belief, for I am death. I long for the sanctity of death and end, but that cannot happen while you are all still here. Your demises mean little to me. I sever her soul from its mortal cage. In the quiet and lonely aftermath, I walk to the side of her bed, her soul's eyes open, and she smiles at me. In my pleasure, I sever her soul to no avail. I always wondered, she says, the ghost of her words whispering into my ears. When will it be my turn to rest? She nods. She says, I am death, blood flowing, dancing, darting. There's little I can do other than watch and wait. To her it was murder. It happens, and always will. Blood flowing, I sever her soul from its mortal cage. I'm different now, so different from the being I used to be. I need a break. I stop quiet. The silver scissors that sever, dancing, darting. I stop quiet. I need a break. But until then, I will be there at every cessation of life, for I am death.
Hospice. There is a seismic shift. There is a seismic shift. You will feel it. Hospice. Swiftly in and swiftly out. The air itself becomes thin, steely. At the periphery of your vision, an immediate dimming, the penumbra begins to shrink, ever diminishing, until the remaining light is small enough to be cupped in 2 hands, ever diminishing, and then it will be extinguished. For when hospice is spoken, the fact is at last acknowledged. There is no hope, no hope, no hope. Those words are obscene, unspeakable. To be without hope is to be without a future. Worse, by acknowledging that you are without a future, you have given up. And so when the word hospice is first spoken, carefully, cautiously, by a female palliative care physician, neither of you hears it. Or, if you hear it, you don't register that you have heard. Buzzing in the ears, a ringing, 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 as of a distant alarm, an alarm in a shuttered room, that is all. For if you don't hear, perhaps it has not yet been uttered. If neither of you hears, perhaps it will not ever be uttered. Somehow it happens. Hospice, hospice, hospice comes to be frequently spoken as the days pass. Somehow it happens to be that your husband, surprising himself, begins to speak of his final days, as in, I think these might be my final days, final days, final days. On the phone, very early one morning, when he calls, as he has been calling, violating the oncologist, Sahansnar has examined him, so that he is spared of seeing your face, and you his, a new shyness like the first initial shyness, finding some way to say, I love you. For some, an impossible statement, I love you. But your husband managed it, I love you, and you managed it somehow, I love you. And now, years later, it is, I think these might be my final days. The words you hear over the phone distinctly, irrevocably yet, you would claim you have not heard them. No, no, no. But yes, you've heard. Must have heard. I think these might be my final days. Blood rushes out of your head, leaving you faint, sinking to your knees like a terrified child, stammering. What? What are you saying? That's ridiculous. Don't say such things. What on earth do you mean, final days? I love you. Don't say such things, for you can't bear it. You don't think so, not knowing at this time the vast Sahara that lies ahead with all that you cannot bear, that nonetheless will be borne, and by you. For always, each step of the way, you resist. I love you. It is a steep uphill. It is natural to resist. I love you. Or, if you accept the steep climb, console yourself with the thought, only temporary. Only temporary. You will return there soon. Until a day, an hour, there is always a day, an hour, where you begin to speak of hospice yourself. First, you two are shy, faltering. Your throat feels lacerated as if by metal fillings. Gradually, you learn to utter the 2 syllables clearly, hospice. Soon after that, you will begin to say these distinct, deliberate words. Our hospice. Soon you draw up your vows, quaintly state to yourself, as if to God, a formal decree. It is my hope that I will make of our hospice a honeymoon. My vow is to make my husband as comfortable as humanly possible. I love you. To make him happy. First, a new setting for him, not the cancer center. Our hospice will be in our home, which he loves. The atrium filled with morning light, the honeymoon. I love you. The foreshortened horizon, for the house is surrounded by trees, sculpted clouds, the honeymoon. My husband can lie on a sofa, staring at the sky, the honeymoon. Comfortable on the sofa with pillows behind him and feet, in warm socks, elevated. He can easily gaze out the window, the honeymoon, beside him, as I have done in the hospital. Hospice. Holding hands, of course, the honeymoon. We will hold hands. His hands strong. His fingers, when squeezed, never fail to squeeze in return. As his lips, when kissed, never fail to kiss in return. I love you. Holding him in my arms, not strong arms, in fact, rather weak arms, which nonetheless can be made to behave as if they were strong. I will scatter seed outside the window, the honeymoon, the more expensive wild bird seed my husband purchases. Thrilling to watch the birds, taking the time undistracted, a honeymoon. And my husband loves music. I'll bathe him in the most beautiful music through his waking hours, the honeymoon, so long as not to be uncomfortable for him. I love you. I will lie on the bed beside him, holding him, listening with him to Beethoven's Ode to Joy, falling asleep with him even during the day, even with Wayne's sunshine slanting through the window onto our faces, the honeymoon, beside his head. From the bookcases in the house, his favorite artist, books from his photography shelves, Bruce Davidson, Edward Weston, Diane Arbus, Elliot Porter. I will turn the pages slowly, marvel with him. The honeymoon. Old photos, old albums, family photographs dating back to the early 1900s. Family, great-grandparents who emigrated from the Pale, in which he has only recently shown interest. His favorite foods. Well, I will try. When he is at home, possibly his appetite will return, when I am the one to prepare his food. The honeymoon. His appetite will return, I'm sure. Of course, the family will come to visit. Adult children, grandchildren, relatives, friends, colleagues from the university, neighbors, old friends from grammar school he hasn't seen in 50 years. Some surprises for him. I will negotiate with the imagination of a theater director. Not merely hospice, but our hospice. Not sad, but joyous. A honeymoon. We will be happy there, in our own home, both of us. For both of us, the final days will be a honeymoon, I vow. I love you. In fact, nothing remotely like this will happen. How could you have imagined it would? I think these might be my final days.
My first book about the Quran. Quran, 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 Quran. Teachings for toddlers and young children. The Quran tells us, in the beginning, there was nothing else, nothing else, nothing else, nothing else. Only Allah was, only Allah was, only Allah was, only Allah was, only Allah was. Allah, 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 Allah. Allah wants us to follow His rules. He sent books to tell us what to do and prophets to show us how to act. Allah created everything. Allah made the earth. Allah made the sun and the moon, the stars and the sky. He created angels and jinn, and jinn, and jinn, and jinn. The creatures we can and cannot see. He created people and made them all special, 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 special. Allah made every animal, the beautiful little bird and the strong, magnificent lion. Allah made the mountains and the trees, the desert and the seas. And the seas, 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 seas. Allah, 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 Allah. He wants us to be thankful for everything we have and say Bismillah in the name of Allah. Allah, 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 Allah. Allah, 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 Allah. Allah wants us to worship Him alone when you grow up. He wants us to pray 5 times a day. Allah wants us to give money to the poor if we can. He wants us to go for Hajj and visit His house in Mecca. He wants us to be good to one another. He wants us to care for our parents and family, our friends, our neighbors, the orphans, and the needy, and to look after our world and everything in it, and everything in it, and everything in it, and everything in it, and everything in it. He wants us to care for our parents and family, our friends, our neighbors, the orphans, and the needy, and to look after our world and everything in it, 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 in it. Allah, 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 Allah.
I write these words from a place of hopelessness. It doesn't make sense. I'm struggling to think and to speak about my friend every morning. Is a punch to my gut, is a punch to my gut. The news of his passing morning is a punch to my gut every morning. I didn't know him for long, but he had a profound effect on me in the time that I did. I am aware that we are all mortal, but you come across some people in life that possess an immortal energy. They are exactly where they're supposed to be. Here. That seem ageless. Don't waste your time. But don't waste your time. Things in the distant future. Things in the distant future. Things in the distant future. In the distant future. By his quiet, powerful presence. But there was a higher frequency that he seemed to operate from. But don't waste your time. As a result, you got the sense that he was fully present and also somehow fully aware of. But don't waste your time. I noticed that Chadwick never seemed rushed. But don't waste your time. But don't waste. He commanded his time. But don't waste your time. With ease. Game face on all of us. And he put in the work. He showed up to training and shoot day with ease. Game face on. But don't waste your time. He was absorbent, agile. Game face on. Don't waste. He set the bar high by working with a generosity of spirit. Don't waste. Creating an ego-free environment by sheer example. Don't waste. And he always had a warm gaze and a strong embrace to share. Don't waste. His large hands would descend on my shoulders and give them a squeeze that relieved me of the tensions I didn't realize I was holding. Don't waste your time. The list goes on. It doesn't make sense. I'm struggling to think and to speak about my friend Chadwick Boseman. It doesn't make sense.